I'm assuming you saw the footage that was on the internet of him being executed.
Right.
How do you react to something like that? Now here's someone you have dealt with.
Right.
I'm wondering just the reaction you had seeing that and how it was handled.
It's a good question, and I don't know that I have a very good answer to it. That it had been expected for a long time, it was going to happen. I was surprised, not totally surprised, somewhat surprised that a taping of it had been allowed and that the tape had been allowed out for worldwide consumption. But make no mistake about this, and I think if you had been in either one of the interviews, or certainly both, or if anyone in the audience had been, when you looked at Saddam Hussein and when you listened to him, if you knew anything at all about his background, he was a stone cold killer.
Given the choice, if you could have had, still sold records, been a honky-tonk singer out there doing what you love without all the intense fame, would you have taken it?
Nope.
Really?
I love being famous.
Do you?
But I also am very burdened by it. I love it, and it's like that thing of, I wonder if people really love me or they're just being nice to me. I have to rely on the value system of others.
The fact that I'm gay, I want people to know that because there is still prejudice. And I want people to know that the prejudice is baseless. So if people see me doing the job, and if they like the job, then I want them to understand that this is, I don't want to be an exception, I want to be an example. You can't be an example if people don't know.
Okay, then, you're sitting here with me now, and it's so comfortable to talk about this, but when you made the decision to go public, what was that like for you?
Oh, I was very scared. And if you could, that's a perfectly good question. In fact, I didn't make the decision to go public until I was 47.
Is there really a heaven? Is there an afterlife? Is there a spiritual life outside of the physical we have here, or does it all just live in our minds?
There is only one reality, and that reality is consciousness or spirit, whatever you want to call it, or the life force or intelligence. That then projects itself, localizes itself as this experience that we're having right now.
But I've also heard you say that that persona now on stage kind of is its own separate person than who you are.
Her.
Her.
Yeah.
So what is she like compared to who you are?
She's great, and she'll do anything. I was so naive, and you know, that just, you're blind, and you just go, you know, you have no fear.
What was your parents' reaction to this?
Well, my mother was not surprised because she thought I would be a stripper, so she was...
So she was very happy.
She was happy it swung this way.
I heard, though, that when you were a child, you were going to be a priest. Up until about 17, that was the direction.
Well, I said I was going to be a priest to get into the Catholic high school my parents wanted me to get into, but, you know, the interview went, they said, well, Dan, he's going to ask you if you want to be a priest. We want to get you in this school because, first of all, it's less money and it's a better education than the public school, so... You know what to say, huh? And so Father Lunny sitting across from me, and he looks at me and says, so Dan, would you consider a career in the priesthood? And my answer was, yeah.
Was it frustrating when you weren't performing? Because you had been brought up performing, you had your own bands, and now you're kind of like looking for a place to perform. But how do you deal with that as an artist?
I made a conscious decision when I moved to Nashville not to play clubs because I just felt like you can get lost in that world. You can get lost in the odd hours and everything and not really have the focus on getting a record deal.
What happens at the end of Broken Wing? Does she leave or does she commit suicide?
She leaves.
The video really makes you think she jumped out the window.
I'm so glad you said that because I had this conversation with the video directors. I wanted to show her leaving.
I don't know that any of us, other than you, or people that have been in your position, can understand what kind of a weight that is on someone. And it's not just getting another job. It is going to be so important. If you win, you have... Is there ever any time where you, in a sense, panic about it? Where you think, what have I gotten myself into?
No, you don't panic, but I spent a lot of time before I made the decision thinking about this.
So somewhere along the line, though, that hunger to be says, well, maybe I want my own restaurant. Maybe I want to do something. Maybe I should share my dreams with someone else. Where does that come from? What made you make that next step instead of just being? You were a happy waitress.
I was a happy waitress who saw that via my ideas, via my suggestions, a little tiny bakery that sat maybe 30 people or so all of a sudden sat 80. All of a sudden sat 105 because they were expanding. And these were my ideas that I was giving to them. And they would try it and they'd go, wow. And I watched them get bigger houses, and I watched them get better cars, and I watched their salaries go up while mine still was at $400 a month.
I think the love I had from him then is still the love I have for him now. I still married the best. And he's the greatest gentleman that I know. Why aren't we married?
I'm not going to ask, but I'll let you bring it up.
I know. Everybody says, well, surely then it should be the happy ever after ending. We are the happy ever after. It's not about marriage. It's more about this extraordinary friendship we have.
What was the key, do you think, to this relationship working so well for you?
Well, part of it was the timing, because if it had happened 20 years earlier, I don't think it would have happened. I wasn't ready. I don't know if Karen would have been ready or not, but I certainly wasn't. But at the time that we met, it was like, I didn't think I'd ever get married again. And I didn't believe in fate either. I always felt you make your own life and then call it fate. With Karen, sorry.
It's okay.
I do believe in fate.
Well, I'm happy that you are so happy.
Thank you.
And all the joy you've brought all of us through all the years. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Gene Wilder.
Thank you.